Robbie, you've got to tell us what it was like growing up in the Venter household. Certainly your father, one of the famous entrepreneurs in the South African environment, having established Altron at the age of 33.
Yeah, well, that was 1965. So at the time I was 5 and my brother Craig was 3. So yes, we started right in the beginning at a young age, seeing the business being built and having to endure long weekends without your dad around, working to build the business. And there was a lot of work that had to happen in those days. Basically started with 4 people. But it's really helped us, I think, in order to manage the group today, because being there right since the inception, seen a lot of the sacrifices that had to be made and seen the challenges and also been part of some of the victories. So I think it's really helped that we had that early exposure to the group.
Was it a competitive environment, specifically between yourself and Craig?
Well, I think whenever there are 2 brothers that there are potential successes for a business, that brings an element of competition. But the competition actually started a lot earlier, because while we were growing up, we both played a lot of sport, played a lot of tennis, so that there was a competitive element there, and it was always a healthy competitive element. I mean, I'm not saying that we never argued or we never had any family squabbles around this and that, but in general it was a very healthy competitive environment, and that continued. We both went to university in the US, studied together there and played on the professional tennis circuit, and now the circle has turned completely. We're both back in South Africa and playing a senior role in the management of the Altron group. So it's been a full circle.
Let's focus for a moment on your tennis career. Can you take us back to that time?
I played at Junior Wimbledon, must have been about 1977 or thereabouts. Also the French Open and the US Open, and yeah, I lost to Ivan Lendl in the semi-finals of Junior Wimbledon, 1977, I think it was, he went on to big and great things in the tennis world, and I certainly couldn't emulate that, but it was a great exposure and a great experience for me to play at that level internationally.
Was it a tough decision to take yourself out of the tennis circuit?
Got my ranking up to about number 65, 70 in the world on the ATP computer, which was for me an accomplishment and everything. But I realized that
I think in anybody's book that was an accomplishment.
Thank you. But I think I realized that I wasn't going to be number 10 in the world and number 5 in the world, where you could really make a lifelong career of it. And I took a very difficult decision at that point in time that maybe I'd have a change of career. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, so I finished my MBA. And then the tough decision was, because by that time the business here in South Africa had then grown substantially under my father's leadership. There was a very tough decision then. Well, do I come back to South Africa, or do I try and build a career in the US?
And of course you went to Bear Stearns into the corporate finance department.
Yes, I took that decision. I wanted to do my own thing for a period of time. I felt it would be, I always knew in the long term that I would gravitate back to the family position and family business. I didn't know in what position, but I wanted to do my own thing for a period of time, and it was a very exciting time for corporate finance in the US, and I took a position with Bear Stearns, and for 3 years worked in their corporate finance department, which was again great experience. And then 1990 came around. Politically things looked a little bit better here in South Africa, and I took the decision to then come back and rejoin the group, which I did do.
When you went to Bear Stearns, and obviously you were contemplating whether the timing was right to come back to the family business, was Dr. Venter disappointed at that stage? Did he want you back in the family fold sooner rather than later?
No, not at all. He was in fact very supportive of spending some time outside of the group. He had made it well known that eventually he wanted me to come back to South Africa and play a role in the family business, but he saw it as a great opportunity to work in the US for a couple of years, get some experience outside of the family business, because I think when you come into a family business, it's important that you've got the respect of people that who your colleagues are, and if you've had a couple of years outside where you've done well in your own right without the support of the family name, it really helps the transition into a family business.
Was it a given that as the older son, you have 2 years on Craig, that you would be Dr. Venter's successor?
I don't think that was a given. Look, traditionally that does happen in many family businesses, but I don't think that was a major factor in terms of the age factor when the decision was taken back in 2001 to appoint me as CEO of the group.
Has that competitive factor had any negative impact on your relationship with your brother?
No, I think it's been very positive. He's been very, very supportive. I mean, we sat down at length in 2001 and talked around the challenges we would have in the new career roles that we were going to have. And, Craig is an exceptional operational manager. His strengths really lie on the operational side, and he was running our biggest subsidiary, Altec. Obviously for me to succeed in my role, I needed him to succeed in his role, and if there wasn't a win-win situation, it wouldn't be a good situation. So I think that kind of galvanized us to work together, and having known Craig and worked with him and grown up with him, you know all of the issues that are there, and it, I think, really helped us to make that transition in a positive way.
In 2001, when you took over as CEO of Altron, there were 9 listed entry points into the company.
Yeah.
And you had to work that out pretty quickly. Now you sit with only 2.
That's correct. The big task I was tasked with when I first took the position at Altron was the board said, Altron's become too complex. We've got too many listed entry points into the group. Our business spread is maybe too broad. And that was unlike many South African companies that had happened. Investors really didn't find our group all that appealing because, do you enter at this level, this level, this level? And so the board said, look, you've got a free rein, pick the team that you want to pick, and really come up with a strategy to simplify the group and to focus the group in terms of its core assets. So we decided very soon that the 3 core areas would be information technology, telecommunications, and power electronics. Those were the 3 main areas, and we would really build our businesses around those pillars.
How long did the process take to streamline the group to those 3 core areas of focus?
The first part was deciding on the assets, and that was probably a 2 to 3 year program. Towards the end of that 2 to 3 year period, there was a lot more focus in terms of the structure, and because ultimately I think the long-term strategic vision is to have one listed entry point housing all of our assets. As you say, we're down from 9 to now 2, so we've made substantial progress in that area, and I think today investors find our group a lot easier to understand and a lot easier to choose to invest in as opposed to, say, 10 years ago.